Hello and welcome to this exploring session, and today we are looking at A Looking Glass for London and England by Robert Greene and Thomas Lodge, written somewhere around 1588-ish. So it is a mass with some of the other plays that we've done in this exploring series on YouTube. We have looked at plays that orbit this, like Tamlin, like the Spanish tragedy, lots of big hitters. And this play is an interesting diversion. It will touch upon things that we may have seen elsewhere, and it may also do some quite radically different things. And of course, as the play is called Looking Glass for London and England, we will spend most of the time in Nineveh. So to understand the precise way that this play works, we're going to read through it in a relatively excitable way with this team of readers who have come online for the joy that is this play. So, reading the part of Ruffian number 1 and lawyer is...
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaffe. I'm a scholar of early modern drama based in Lancaster in the UK.
And reading the wonderfully doubled roles of Angel and Usurer is...
Hi there, I'm Victoria. I'm an actor and I'm based in London.
Reading the parts of Radagon and Alcon is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading the parts of Paphlagonia and Adam is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, based in Suffolk. Never tried to earn a living from acting.
Reading the part of the King of Crete and Ruffian number 2 is...
Hello, I'm Pamela and I am an actor based in London.
Reading the part of Cilicia and Alvida is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good and I'm a historian.
Reading new to the group, everyone be kind and loving. Reading the part of Oseas is...
My name is Elizabeth Amisu. I'm based outside Rockford and I'm an author.
And reading the part of Rasni and Judge is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director based in Germany.
And reading the parts of Remilia and Thrasybulus is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I am usually based in London, but currently also in Germany in isolation.
And I think I have covered everybody in the room, apart from myself. I'm Robert Crighton, I'm your host. I will be reading these stage directions as they appear and generally keeping order, making some desperate rearguard action attempt to do that. So we will open in the action of Act 1, Scene 1. And it's quite a collection of kings that we're getting here, sauntering in. More kings than actually speak out loud, as far as I can tell. So we have entrance of Rasni with the kings of Cilicia, Crete and Paphlagonia from the overthrow of Jeroboam, king of Jerusalem. So there's been some action before you all come on stage.
So pace ye on, triumphant warriors. Make Venus Layman, armed in all his pomp, bash at the brightness of your hardy looks. For you, the viceroys and the cavaliers that wait on Rasni's royal mightiness, boast, petty kings, and glory in your fates, that stars have made your fortunes climb so high to give attend on Rasni's excellence. Am I not he that rules great Nineveh, rounded with Lycus silver-flowing streams, whose city large diametry contains even 3 days' journey's length from wall to wall, 200 gates carved out of burnished brass, as glorious as the portal of the sun, and, for to deck heaven's battlements with pride, 600 towers that topless touch the clouds. This city is the footstool of your king. 100 lords do honour at my feet. My sceptre straineth both the parallels. And now, to enlarge the highness of my power, I have made Judea's monarch flee the field and beat proud Jeroboam from his holds, winning from Cadiz to Samaria. great jury's god that foiled stout Benadad could not rebate the strength that Rasni brought. For be he god in heaven, yet viceroys know. Rasni is god on earth, and none but he.
If lovely shape, feature by nature's skill, passing in beauty fair Endymions, that Luna wrapped within her snowy breasts, or that sweet boy that wrought bright Venus' bane, transformed into a purple hyacinth, if beauty nonpareil in excellence may make a king match with gods in Greene, Rasni is god on earth, and none but he.
If martial looks, wrapped in a cloud of wars, more fierce than Mavors lighteneth from his eyes, sparkling revenge and dire disparagement. If doughty deeds more haught than any done, sealed with the smile of fortune and of fate, matchless to manage lance and curtle axe. If such high actions graced with victories may make a king matched with the gods in Greene, Rasni is god on earth and none but he.
If palace wealth,
Viceroys, enough. Peace, Paphlagon, no more. See where's my sister, fair Remilia, fairer than was the virgin Danae that waits on Venus with a golden show. She that hath stolen the wealth of Rasni's looks and tied his thoughts within her lovely locks. She that is loved and loven to your king. See where she comes to gratulate my fame.
I'm just going to briefly pause there before we have the entrance of some additional people. I think we can break that down as, I'm really great. And then the other people in the room go, yes, you're really great. Several times until even Rasni gets bored. A couple of bits that are very Tamburlaine-y there, aren't they? Footstool
very.
of your king, god on earth. So Alicia's doing the classical learning bit, whereas Crete's much more interested in just fighty stuff. But yeah, there's an awful lot of I'm great, aren't I the greatest, aren't I great, which feels uncomfortably relevant. Any additional thoughts about this this opening, how to open a play here?
laid with a dodgy red blonde wig.
Yeah.
I quite like the Paphlagon no more part. Paphlagon just barely got started.
Yeah.
I know, it was like...
And no.
Yeah. Do you think he's the one? Yeah. Do you think he's the one of the three of them? He's like the least favourite. He's like the other two are like, yeah. And by the time it gets to him, Rasni's like, yeah.
Or else Ivanka has just walked in. Viceroy's enough peace, you know. We're moving on here.
It's either that or it's the apprentice boys part, you know, you only gets the first few lines of a speech, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought we should just briefly pause there before we bring additional characters on. So now enter Radagon with Remilia, Alvida, and ladies bringing a globe seated on a ship.
Victorious monarch, second unto Jove, Mars upon earth, and Neptune on the seas, whose frown strows all the ocean with a calm, whose smile draws Flora to display her pride, whose eye holds wanton Venus at a gaze. Rasni, the regent of great Nineveh, for thou hast foiled proud Jeroboam's force, and like the mustering breath of Aeolus that overturns the pines of Lebanon, hast scattered Jewry and her upstart grooms, winning from Cadits to Samaria. Remilia greets thee with a kind salute, and for a present to thy mightiness gives thee a globe folded within a ship, as king on earth and lord of all the seas, with such a welcome unto thee, as may thy sister's humble love afford.
Sister, the title fits not thy degree. A higher state of honour shall be thine. The lovely troll that Mercury entrapped within the curious pleasure of his tongue, and she that bashed the sun god with her eyes, fair Semele, the choice of Venus' maids, were not so beauteous as Remilia. Then, sweeting, sister shall not serve the turn, but, oh, what? Right, okay. Sorry, I'll go back. Then, sweeting, sister shall not serve the turn, but Rasni's wife, his layman, and his love. Thou shalt, like Juno, wed thyself to Jove, and fold me in the riches of thy fair. Remilia shall be Rasni's paramour. For why, if I be Mars for warlike deeds, and thou, bright Venus, for thy clear aspect, why should not from our loins issue a son, that might be lord of royal sovereignty of 20 worlds, if 20 worlds might be? What say'st, Remilia? Art thou Rasni's wife?
My heart doth swell with favour of thy thoughts. The love of Rasni maketh me as proud as Juno when she wore heaven's diadem. Thy sister born was for thy wife, my love. Had I the riches nature locketh up to deck her darling beauty when she smiles, Rasni should prank him in the pride of all.
Remilia's love is far more richer prize than Jeroboam's or the world's subdue. Lordings, I'll have my wedding sumptuous, made glorious with the treasures of the world. I'll fetch from Albia shelves of marguerites, and strip the Indies of their diamonds. And Tyre shall yield me tribute of her gold to make Remilia's wedding glorious. I'll send for all the damosel queens that live within the reach of Rasni's government, to wait as handmaids on Remilia, that her attendant train may pass the troop that gloried Venus at her wedding day.
Oh, my lord, not sister to thy love. 'Tis incest, and too foul a fact for kings. Nature allows no limits to such lust.
Presumptuous viceroy, darest thou check thy lord or twit him with the laws that nature loves? Is not great Rasni above nature's reach, God upon earth, and all his will is law?
Oh, flatter not, for hateful is his choice, and sister's love will blemish all his worth.
Doth not the brightness of his majesty shadow his deeds from being counted faults?
Well, hast thou answered with him, Radagon? I like thee for thy learned sophistry. But thou of Crete, that counterchecks thy king, pack hence in exile. Radagon, the crown, be thou vicegerent of his royalty, and fail me not in what my thoughts may please. For from a beggar have I brought thee up, and graced thee with the honour of a crown. Ye, quondam king, what, feed ye on delays?
Better no king than viceroy under him, that hath no virtue to maintain his crown.
And exit Crete surprisingly with his life.
Remilia, what fair dames be those that wait attendant on thy matchless royalty?
'Tis Alvida, the fair wife to the king of Paphlagonia.
Trust me, she is a fair. Thou'st, Paphlagon, a jewel to fold thee in so bright a sweeting's arms.
Like you her, my lord?
What if I do, Radagon?
Why, then she is yours, my lord, for marriage makes no exception where Rasni doth command.
Ill dost thou counsel him to fancy wives.
Wife or no wife, whatso he likes is his.
Well answered, Radagon. Thou art for me. Feed thou mine humour, and be still a king. Lords, go in triumph of my happy loves, and for to feast us, after all our broils, frolic and revel it in Nineveh. Whatsoe'er befitteth your conceited thoughts, of good or ill, love or not love, my boys, in love or what may satisfy your lust, act it, my lords. For no man dare say no. Divisum imperium cum Jove nunc teneo.
Exit, everybody. It's fair to say that escalated quickly.
Took a turn.
What just happened?
Well, I think what we have here is an application of absolute power going absolutely to the nth degree there. Incest, the ability for various people in the court to go, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Incest, fine. That's cool, my lord, whatever you say.
Yeah.
Crete's the only one who says no. And then, of course, Radagon offering his wife as for a threesome. So yeah, it's all fun and games at the court in Nineveh, isn't it? Thoughts in the room?
I'm not sure that Radagon was offering his wife. I think it was Paphlagon's wife.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, Radagon just went.
Yeah. Have his
whatever
wife.
you want, Gov.
Yeah. Whatever. Yes. Sorry. So yeah, thoughts in the room. Wave at me. Who wants? Helen.
Paphlagonia is getting the short end of the straw both times because Paphlagonia is the one who was cut off at the beginning of his praise speech.
Yeah.
And then he loses his wife. I mean, the man is not having a good day.
No, he's not. I mean, he hasn't got a lot to say, but he's got quite a journey.
I'll say.
Other thoughts?
Reminds me a little bit of film. Russell Crowe, Gladiator. Joaquin Phoenix's Caesar and his sister, Love.
Oh, yes.
I forget which Caesar he was.
Nero, wasn't it?
Commodus,
that's the one.
Yeah.
But actually, if you go back to the biblical period, the classical period and the Far East, brothers marrying sisters was not unheard of.
Yeah, that's where my mind went. I went, is he a pharaoh? Because in ancient Egypt, that was a thing you did. You married your sister, and then you had a whole harem of other wives.
I'm going back to I Claudius at the moment. I'm definitely having Caligula vibes here.
God, yes.
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So it's we all reacted with shock horror, but you know what? We've all seen this story before.
They're Targaryens.
Have we had incest though? I don't. We've had a lot of murder and everything else in the plays we've done, but have we had incest?
Actually, I don't think we have yet.
No, that's a new one on me.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a genuine Game of Thrones thing. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, Game of Thrones was twincest.
Yeah, but also the Targaryen kings always ended up into their sisters. He made a thing out of that as well.
Any additional thoughts beyond?
I mean, it gets started with a bang, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
we're straight into the action, straight into what's going to happen. There's no messing around. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's it's like it took about half an hour to an hour for Tamburlaine to get going. This one just goes straight in, doesn't it?
Yes.
Any additional thoughts? Wave at me. Make sure we get in cleanly. No? Okay, right. Let's move to Act 1, Scene 2, because I'm sure it's going to be a very, very different... the rest of the country is going to be fine, I'm sure. So, enter, brought in by an angel, Oseas the prophet, and let down over the stage in a throne.
Amaze not, man of God, if in the spirit thou'rt brought from Jewry unto Nineveh. So was Elias wrapped within a storm and set upon Mount Carmel by the Lord. For thou hast preached long to the stubborn Jews, whose flinty hearts have felt no sweet remorse, but lightly valuing all the threats of God, have still persevered in their wickedness. Lo, I have brought thee unto Nineveh, the rich and royal city of the world, pampered in wealth and overgrown with pride, as Sodom and Gomorrah full of sin. The Lord looks down and cannot see one good, not one that covets to obey his will, but wicked all from cradle to the crutch. Note then, Oseas, all their grievous sins, and see the wrath of God that pays revenge. And when the ripeness of their sin is full, and thou hast written all their wicked thoughts, I'll carry thee to Jewry back again, and seat thee in the great Jerusalem. There shalt thou publish in her open streets that God sends down his hateful wrath for sin on such as never heard his prophets speak. Much more will he inflict a world of plagues on such as hear the sweetness of his voice, and yet obey not what his prophets speak. Sit thee, Oseas, pondering in the spirit the mightiness of these fond people's sins.
The will of the Lord be done.
And exits the angel, leaving Oseas to watch as enter Adam and his crew of ruffians go to drink. We'll say that's ruffian number one, the first ruffian there.
Come on, Smith, thou shalt be one of the crew, because thou knowest where the best ale in the town is.
Come on, i' faith, me colts. I've left my master striking off a heat and stole away because I would keep you company.
Why, what, shall we have this paltry Smith with us?
Paltry Smith? Why, you incarnative knave, what are you that speak petty treason against the smith's trade?
Why, slave, I am a gentleman of Nineveh.
A gentleman? Good sir, I remember you well, and all your progenitors. Your father bare office in our town. An honest man he was, and in great discredit in the parish, for they bestrode 2 squires' livings on him. One was on working days, and then he kept the town stage, and on holidays they made him the sexton's man, for he whipped dogs out of the church. Alas, sir, your father, why, sir, methinks I see the gentleman still. A proper youth he was, faith, aged some 40 and 10, his beard rat's colour, half black, half white. His nose was in the highest degree of noses. It was nose autumn glorificum, so set with rubies that after his death it should have been nailed up in Coppersmith's Hall for a monument. Well, sir, I was beholding to your good father, for he was the first man that ever instructed me in the mystery of a pot of ale.
Well said, Smith. That crossed him over the thumbs.
Villain, were it not that we go to be merry, my rapier should presently quit thy opprobrious terms.
Oh, Peter, Peter, put up thy sword, and prithee heartily into thy scabbard. Hold in your rapier, for though I have not a long reacher, I have a short hitter. Nay then, gentlemen, stay me. My collar begins to rise against him, for mark the man, a paltry Smith. A horrible sentence. Thou hast in these words, I will stand to it, libelled against all the sound horses, whole horses, saw horses, coursers, kirtles, jades, cuts, hackneys and mares. Whereupon, my friend, in their defence, I give you this curse. Thou shalt not be worth a horse of thine own this 7 year.
I prithee, Smith, is your occupation so excellent?
A paltry smith? Why, I'll stand to it. A smith is lord of the 4 elements, for our iron is made of the earth, our bellows blow out air, our floor holds fire, and our forge water. Nay, sir, we read in the chronicles that there was a god of our occupation.
Aye, but he was a cuckold.
That was the reason, sir, he called your father cousin. Paltry smith. Why, in this one word, thou hast defaced their worshipful occupation.
But how?
Marry, sir, I will stand to it, that a smith in his kind is a physician, a surgeon, and a barber. But let a horse take a cold, or be troubled with the bots, and we straight give him a potion or a purgation in such physical manner that he mends straight. If he have outward diseases, as the spavin, splint, ringbone, wingall, or fashion, or, sir, a galled back, we let him blood and clap a plaster to him with a pestilence that mends him with a very vengeance. Now, if his mane grow out of order, and he have any rebellious hairs, We straight to our shears, and trim him with what cut it. Please us, prick his ears, and make him neat. Marry, aye, indeed, sir, we are slovens for one thing. We never use musk balls to wash him with. And the reason is, sir, because he can woo without kissing.
Well, Sarah, leave off these praises of a smith and bring us to the best ale in the town.
Now, sir, I have a feat above all the smiths in Nineveh. For, sir, I am a philosopher that can dispute the nature of ale. But mark you, sir, a pot of ale consists of 4 parts. Imprimus, the ale, the toast, the ginger, and the nutmeg.
Excellent.
The ale is a restorative. Bread is a binder. Mark you, sir, 2 excellent points in physic. The ginger, aware of that, the philosophers have written of the nature of ginger. 'Tis expulsative in 2 degrees. You shall hear the sentence of Galen. It will make a man belch, cough, and fart, and is a great comfort to the heart. A proper posy, I promise you. But now to the noble virtue of the nutmeg. It is, saith one ballad, I think an English Roman was the author, an underlayer to the brains, for when the ale gives a buffet to the head, oh, the nutmeg, that keep him for a while in temper. Thus you see the description of the virtue of a pot of ale. Now, sir, to put my physical precepts in practice, follow me. But before I step any further...
What's the matter now?
Why, seeing I have provided the ale, who is the purveyor for the wenches? Poor masters, take this of me. A cup of ale without a wench? Why, alas, 'tis like an egg without salt, or a red herring without mustard.
Lead us to the ale. We'll have wenches enough, I warrant thee.
And exit Ruffians and Adam.
Iniquity seeks out companions still, and mortal men are armoured to do ill. London, look on, this matter nips thee near. Leave off thy riot, pride, and sumptuous cheer. Spend less at board, and spare not at the door, but aid the infant and relieve the poor. Else, seeking mercy, be merciless. Thou be adjudged to endless heaviness.
And there the scene ends. I think we've located the clowns part. Though the punning that's going on there is quite dense, and some of the wordplay, the stuff that's going on there isn't, I think, coming across without some work. I think it's a tricky one. I mean, the learned quote from Galen I particularly like. I'm sure that's entirely accurate. I mean, it's accurate I think in a sense, as a ginger as has an effect if taken in vast quantities. I think it's particularly interesting. We have our first mention, I think, of London. It's like ladies and gentlemen, those in the audience who are sitting there wondering at what point London and England are going to get a name in, you're getting a bit of a clue here that you might be wanting to take this as a lesson. Think of this play as a looking glass to yourself, which is being laid there. Thoughts about this particular scene? Wave thoughts. Sarah?
I loved all the stuff about horses. Like, I had no idea. Did Smiths actually do all that? Or is that just all made up for this play? Someone clearly knows their horse business. I found it fascinating and funny.
The Smith would be the one who would be shoeing the horses, and therefore would probably have a better knowledge of the diseases and complaints of horses.
So they were like horse apothecaries as well,
yeah.
Were they?
Well, it's all peeling off one pun, isn't it? It's because it's a poultry smith. So he's taken one insult, and the whole scene he's just unravels from that one thing because he won't let it go. You call me a poultry smith? Well, I'll and he keeps running with it.
I've never heard of an early modern veterinarian, though.
Why?
I mean, a horse doctor, being a horse doctor would go very well with being a smith, as Alan said.
Mm. Certainly someone who will be seeing a lot of horses.
No, I've certainly never come across anybody who put shoes on chickens.
Mm. Well, isn't there something similar when talking about shepherds and sheep in some of the shepherds, you know, where they go into surprisingly great detail about looking after sheep? No one's going back to me on that one. It's something that really is in the back of my mind.
They're sort of putting pitch on them is what comes to mind.
Yeah.
I've worked out who Oseas is. It's the prophet Hosea, Hosea, I think. I know nothing about that prophet, but I think that must be who it is.
Who's been plucked from their proper place by an angel to, well, sort of just, is it note down an oversight committee kind of thing of the sins of this particular location?
And go and report back to those in Jerusalem.
But, and the poor fellows am I right? The poor fellows in a throne, swaying gently above the action below.
Like Venus, isn't it?
Wait, is it the return of the throne we had in whichever Robert Greene play it was, with the Venus popping in and out?
Yeah. I think so.
Alphonsus?
Yeah, was it Alphonsus or was it
Alphonsus? I can't remember.
I will have a quick look while we go on. Dan, I see your hand.
No, I'm not sure if it might have been James IV, but I'll bring up the little research I've done on this play at this moment here. The Queen's Men apparently is putatively given charge of this play back in the early 1590s, because the clown whose name is Adam there is also the clown, they believe, of Oberon in James IV there. So I wonder if connections can be made with the setting, or how, I guess, some of the props or some of the other characters in James IV, some of the other roles that were cast there.
Oh, wasn't there that whole montage bit in the middle where they had like really fantastical Far Eastern costumes?
Yeah.
Well, with going back to Alphonsus, that is where Venus is being winched down, and that's another putative. I think that's another putative Queen's Men play. So it does feel like there is a conversation between plays in terms of what they've got to hand, or the skill sets they've got to hand as well.
If you've got a throne and it lets down from the ceiling, I mean, come on, you're going to use it, aren't you?
Yeah.
Almost like this debate we had the other day about the brazen head. You know, once you spent the money on the props or the costumes, let's make the most of them.
Yeah. Okay. So in a sense, you know, I don't know whether this scene has any, you know, structural plot relevance rather than a thematic relevance. I'm sure we'll find out where these characters are going within the narrative we're being given here. You know, it could be that we're going to see lots of people doing terrible things for our betterment. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows where it's going to go? Any final thought, Helen?
Small point. The ruffian who is just down as ruffian, the first one who speaks, does not appear, in fact, to be the first ruffian, because it's that ruffian who says, "Come on, Smith, you'll be with us." And then the first ruffian says, "Why? What should we have this paltry Smith with us?" So I think it's got to be a different ruffian.
So we've potentially stolen from ruffian number 2,
Yes.
Almost tripling of their lines. I'm so sorry.
That's fine, Robert. It's fine.
As the second ruffian says, almost nothing. Is pretty much Paphlagonia again, isn't it?
I can add something to that.
Yeah.
You might have read, Rob, actually, that this has been printed 5 times, and one of them is one of the famous marked up quartos that was used to be staged for performance. So it's full of manuscripts, and there's at least 7 or 8 different hands in it, one of which has done a lot of corrections on the speech prefixes, specifically in this scene, because it had misassigned Ruffian to the clown and vice versa there. And if I can just probably during the next pause, I'll just take a look at, because I have photos of it. I can take a look and see who they had assigned it to, at least for that specific performance there.
That'd be fabulous. Excellent. So all sorts of things coming out of the first 2 scenes. We've only done 2 scenes. You know, no idea where this is going. Okay, Act 1, Scene 3, and here we get some additional. I'm sure these are all lovely people. Enter the Usurer, Thrasybulus, and Alcon.
Come on. I am every day troubled with these needy companions. What news with you? What wing brings you hither?
Sir, I hope, how far soe'er you make it off, you remember too well for me that this is the day wherein I should pay you money that I took up of you elate in a commodity.
And sir reverence of your manhood and gentry, I have brought home such money as you lent me.
You, young gentleman, is my money ready?
Truly, sir, this time was so short, the commodity so bad, and the promise of friends so broken, that I could not provide it against the day. Wherefore I am come to entreat you to stand my friend, and to favour me with a longer time, and I will make you sufficient consideration.
Is the wind in that door? If thou hast thy money, so it is. I will not defer a day, an hour, a minute, but take the forfeit of the bond.
I pray you, sir, consider that my loss was great by the commodity I took up. You know, sir, I borrowed of you £40, whereof I had £10 in money and £30 in lute strings, which, when I came to sell again, I could get but £5 for them. So had I, sir, but £15 for my 40. In consideration of this ill bargain, I pray you, sir, give me a month longer.
I answered thee afore, not a minute. What have I to do how thy bargain proved? I have thy hand set to my book that thou receivest £40 of me in money.
Aye, sir, it was your device that to colour the statute, but your conscience knows what I had.
Friend, thou speakest Hebrew to him, when thou talkest to him of conscience, for he hath as much conscience about the forfeit of an obligation as my blind mare, God bless her, hath over a manger of oats.
Then there is no favour, sir.
Come tomorrow to me, and see how I will use thee.
No, covetous caterpillar, know that I have made extreme shift rather than I would fall into the hands of such a ravening panther. And therefore, here is thy money, and deliver me the reconnaissance of my land. Sorry, I keep getting a pop-up here.
What a spite is this! Hath sped of his crowns. If he had missed but 1/2 hour, what a goodly farm I had gotten for £40. Well, 'tis my cursed fortune. Oh, have I no shift to make him forfeit his recognizance?
Come, sir, will you dispatch and tell your money?
And the clock strikes 4.
Stay, what is this o'clock? 4. Let me see. To be paid between the hours of 3 and 4 in the afternoon. Well, this goes right for me. You, sir, hear you not the clock? And have you not a counterpane of your obligation? The hour is past. It was to be paid between 3 and 4, and now the clock hath strucken 4. I will receive none. I'll stand to the forfeit of the recognizance.
Why, sir, I hope you do but jest. Why, 'tis but 4, and will you for a minute take forfeit of my bond? If it were so, sir, I was here before 4.
Why didst thou not tender thy money then? If I offer thee injury, take the law of me. Complain to the judge. I will receive no money.
Well, sir, I hope you will stand my good master for my cow. I borrowed 30 shillings on her, and for that I have paid you 18 pence a week. And for her meat you have had her milk. And I tell you, sir, she gives a pretty sup. Now, sir, here is your money.
Hang, beggarly knave. comes to me for a cow? Did I not bind her bought and sold for a penny, and was not thy day to have paid yesterday? Thou gettest no cow at my hand.
No cow, sir. Alas, that word, no cow, goes as cold to my heart as a draught of small drink in a frosty morning. No cow, sir. Why, alas, master usurer, what shall become of me, my wife, and my poor child?
Thou gettest no cow of me, knave. I cannot stand prating with you. I must be gone.
Nay, but hear you, master usurer. No cow. Why, sir, here's your 30 shillings. I have paid you 18 pence a week, and therefore there is reason I should have my cow.
What pratest thou? Have I not answered thee? Thy day is broken.
Why, sir, alas, my cow is a commonwealth to me. For first, sir, she allows me, my wife and son, for to banquet ourselves withal. Butter, cheese, whey, curds, cream, sod milk, raw milk, sour milk, sweet milk, and buttermilk. Besides, she saved me every year a penny in almanacs, for she was as good to me as a prognostication. If she had but set up her tail and had galloped about the mead, my little boy was able to say, "Oh, father, there will be a storm." Her very tail was a calendar to me, and now to lose my cow, alas, master usurer, take pity on me.
I have other matters to talk on. Farewell, fellows.
Why, but thou covetous churl, wilt thou not receive thy money and deliver me my reconnaissance?
I'll deliver thee none. If I have wronged thee, seek thy mends at the law.
And exit the usurer.
And so I will, insatiable peasant.
And sir, rather than I will put up this word no cow, I will lay my wife's best gown upon. I tell you, sir, when the slave uttered this word no cow, it struck me to my heart. For my wife shall never have one so fit for her turn again. For indeed, sir, she is a woman that hath her twiddling strings broke.
What meanest thou by that, fellow?
Marry, sir, reverence of your manhood, she breaks wind behind. And indeed, sir, when she sat milking of her cow and let her fart, my other cows would start at the noise and kick down the milk and away. But this cow, sir, the gentlest cow, my wife might blow whilst she burst. And having such good conditions, shall the usurer come upon me with no cow? Nay, sir, before I pocket up this word, no cow, my wife's gown goes to the lawyer. Why, alas, sir, 'tis as ill a word to me as no crown to a king.
Well, fellow, go with me, and I'll help thee to a lawyer.
Marry, and I will, sir. No cow. Well, the world goes hard.
And exit the two supplicants, leaving Oseas on stage again.
Where hateful usury is counted husbandry, where merciless men rob the poor, and the needy are thrust out of door, where gain is held for conscience, and men's pleasure is all on pence, where young gentlemen forfeit their lands through riot into the usurer's hands, where poverty is despised and pity banished, and mercy indeed utterly vanished, where men esteem more of money than of God, let that land look to feel his wrathful rod. For there is no sin more odious in his sight than where usury defrauds the poor of his right. London, take heed, these sins abound in thee. The poor complain, the widows wronged be. The gentlemen by subtlety are spoiled. The ploughmen lose the crop for which they toiled. Sin reigns in thee, O London, every hour. Repent and tempt not thus the heavenly power.
And thus ends the act. London, London, take heed, you vice of usury, within your days. There is that slight little problematic hint in this this scene, picking up on also the language of the angel earlier when talking about stubborn Jews, of that the usurer might be. I mean, I think you can modern production strip that away, but it does suggest that the usurer is supposed to be a Jewish moneylender, which is a little problematic, I think, to our modern sensibilities. There's something about the insistence on the letter of the law that is very, very interesting from the usurer's part. Thoughts about this particular scene? Wave at me. Alan.
Yeah, one thought, Robert, to go against what you just said about that potential characterization. The line is, you might as well speak Hebrew to him, which has a potential implication that you would be speaking an unknown language to him, which would go against your assertion that this is a prototype of a Venetian merchant.
I've no idea what you're talking about. Tamara.
I took that the exact opposite way. I thought that the Dan, it was your character, wasn't it? You were saying that. I thought it was to the usurer. It was the usurer is talking Hebrew to Thrasybulus. That's how I read that line. So yeah, I also thought it was anti-Semitic.
I think there's the play is not throwing us too much. I mean, I think it's easy enough to strip that away in a performance. But I think there is a bit of it there. Other thoughts, Dan?
I'm just reading.
No, you're just looking intent. Wave anyone who wants to jump in. Nobody does. Helen.
Yeah, if we're talking about a mirror for London, then Jewish usurers did not exist in London.
Oh yes.
Do you mean, oh yes, you agree, or
oh yes, I agree, yes, but that doesn't...
I mean, they were Italians living in Lombard Street. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't conversos who were actually practicing as Jews, but they tended not to be lending money. They tended to be more in the medical field.
Okay, let's move into the scene itself. I mean, Alcon, he feels like he's potentially the other clown in the room. He's got some lovely dialogue. His stuff about the cow. It's a really good point. You take away a man's cow, and you take away his life.
But it's just this particular cow because it's the only cow that will stand its ground as his wife farts.
Yes.
But it's the only cow they've got.
He
mentions other cows.
Yeah, he mentions other cows.
Yeah.
But she's the only one that is brave. She's the brave cow, not frightened of farts.
The brave weather forecasting cow.
Yes.
Every home needs one. Stephen, are you...
Well, I was just going to say the Queen's Men, one of the things we know about the Queen's Men personnel is that they had up to 4 clowns at any one time. There is this kind of massive assumption based on incomplete evidence that everybody, every company just had 1 clown. But we know for a fact that the Queen's Men had more than that, because when they were put together in '83, they just picked all the best performers, and so they got all of the clowns from all the other companies, basically. So it's a kind of fallacy to assume that just because companies with which we're more familiar had perhaps a single clown, that that was the norm even.
And I think that's actually borne out by a lot of the other Robert Greene plays and the other Queen's Men plays that we've done so far, is that there seems to usually be at least 2 who really get the laughs, if not more. Other thoughts, Dan?
It's absolutely a fair point. It's not to contradict it. It's more of just when in the way it was printed, they had actually noted that Adam the clown, maybe that was just how he was probably more well known as the clown character most often, is given the clown designation, whereas Alcon is given the designation of poor man. This is not to say that he's not also a clown, but just at least in that impression, that's how they have them.
Well, it's a bit like vices, isn't it? You know, in earlier plays that you'll get one identified as the vice, but several people play that kind of role sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, actually, going back to the previous scene with the ruffians and Adam, that reads like a lot of the vice scenes that we've seen in interludes, where you have some young coves getting drunk and then visiting a sex worker. That seems to be almost every interlude that we've looked at. It seems to be a thing. Sarah?
It also reminded me, the discussion with the Usurer reminded me a little bit of that scene in Richard II. I think it was.
Which Richard II are we talking about here? Thomas of Woodstock or Jack Straw?
Oh, yes. Thomas of Woodstock.
Yeah.
Thomas of Woodstock. When you had the guys with the seals going round and, hoodwinking all the locals. It just really reminded me of that, even though it's completely different. It just reminded me of that scene where you have the kind of the official man, the man who has the authority. Okay, he's a usurer, so he's not an official, but he's the man who has the power basically, and he's just using the law and using the written word to basically swindle the people who are dependent on him.
He's very Thrasybulus-like, isn't he, in that sense?
Yeah,
and in a sense, Thrasybulus' job is all about is a sense of sort of usury. He's carving up and selling the kingdom. It's a very similar kind of job.
Yeah.
Any additional thoughts about Act 1? Now that we've had 3 contrasting scenes of vices, I think it's fair to say.
May I ask? Hoisted Oseas down onto the stage and just left him dangling there for the 2 scenes that he's witnessed, and now it kind of moves into Act 2. Would they hoist him off, or does he just stay there and dangle throughout?
Well, I think the angel brings Oseas down. The angel winches back up. I think Oseas is just on stage constantly. There's no exit stage direction that I've seen in this particular version. I don't know if there's any notification. It seems like Oseas is just wandering around.
Oh, so he actually can get out of his chair and...
I don't think he ever stays in the chair.
Dangling, okay.
I don't know. There might be stage directions later on that will give us some clues, but just that's my impression, is that he's just wandering around the stage, watching all the vice, making a list, checking it twice.
Yeah, there's no stage directions indicated for him even making an entrance.
Yeah.
So,
it's literally just brought in by the angel, and that's it. And so we can assume that Oseas is ever present. The poor bugger, be knackered by the end of the show. Okay.
Can I add one more quick?
Yeah,
point?
go for it.
Interestingly, the font that they used for that is Roman font, whereas the rest of it is black letter for every time Oseas has a speech there. So just to show a little bit more of the otherness of this character.
There to make the proclamations. Are you getting it at home? This is the moral of the scene. Well done. Okay, let's go into Act 2. We're going back to the everyday story of incest folks. So, enter Remilia with Alvida and a train of ladies in all royalty.
Fair queens, yet handmaids unto Rasni's love, tell me, is not my state as glorious as Juno's pomp, when tired with heaven's despoil, clad in her vestments, spotted all with stars, she crossed the silver path unto her Jove? Is not Remilia far more beauteous, rich with the pride of nature's excellent, than Venus in the brightest of her shine? My hairs, surpass they not Apollo's locks? Are not my tresses curled with such art as love delights to hide him in their fair? Doth not mine eye shine like the morning lamp that tells Aurora when her love will come? Have I not stolen the beauty of the heavens and placed it on the feature of my face? Can any goddess may compare with me, or match her with the fair Remilia?
The beauties that proud Paris saw from Troy mustering in Ida for the golden ball, were not so gorgeous as Remilia.
I have tricked my trammels up with richest balm, and made my perfumes of the purest myrrh, the precious drugs that Egypt's wealth affords, the costly paintings fetched from curious Tyre, have mended in my face what nature missed. Am I not the earth's wonder in my looks?
The wonder of the earth, the pride of heaven.
Look, Alvida, a hair stands not amiss, for women's looks are trammels of conceit, which do entangle love for all his wiles.
Madam, unless you coy it, trick and trim, and play the civil wanton ere you yield, smiting disdain of pleasures with your tongue, patting your princely Rasni on the cheek when he presumes to kiss without consent, you mar the market, beauty naught avails. You must be proud, for pleasures hardly got are sweet if once attained.
Fair Alvida, thy counsel makes Remilia passing wise. Suppose that thou wert Rasni's mightiness, and I Remilia, prince of excellence.
I would be master then of love and thee.
Of love and me, proud and disdainful king, darest thou presume to touch a deity before she grace thee with a yielding smile?
Tut, my Remilia, be not thou so coy, say nay, and take it.
Careless and unkind, talks Rasni to Remilia in such sort, as if I did enjoy a human form. Look on thy love, behold mine eyes divine, and darest thou twit me with a woman's fault? Ah, Rasni, thou art rash to judge of me. I tell thee, Flora oft hath wooed my lips, to lend a rose to beautify her spring. The sea nymph fetch their lilies from my cheeks, then thou unkind, and hereon would I weep.
And here would Alvida resign her charge, for were I but in thought a Syrian king, I needs must quite thy tears with kisses sweet, and crave a pardon with a friendly touch. You know it, madam, though I teach it not, the touch I mean. You smile when as you think it.
How am I pleased to hear thy pretty prate, according to the humour of my mind. Ah, nymphs, who fairer than Remilia? The gentle winds have wooed me with their sighs, the frowning air hath cleared when I did smile, and when I trace upon the tender grass love that makes warm the scent of the earth, lift up his crest to kiss Remilia's foot. Juno still entertains her amorous Jove with new delights, for fear he look on me. The phoenix feathers are become my fan, for I am beauty's phoenix in this world. Shut close these curtains straight and shadow me, for fear Apollo spy me in his walks, and scorn all eyes to see Remilia's eyes. Nymphs, eunuchs, sing, for Mavers draweth nigh. Hide me in closure, let him long to look, for were goddess fairer than am I, I'll scale the heavens to pull her from the place.
And they draw the curtains and music plays.
Believe me, though she say that she is fairest, I think my penny silver by her leave.
And I'm just going to pause here because this is a fascinating scenette before the scene goes somewhere quite different. You know, if we didn't know who the intended was, this scene would be lovely in many ways. It's that weird juxtaposition of something quite unpleasant with something that's really playful. And the play acting that Alvida's doing and this little scene that they're doing within the scene is really interesting. Any thoughts about that, especially those who are playing it?
Well, I'm wondering if Rasni's condition is, if you can catch it.
It's genetic.
Yeah. I was thinking that the parents must have been pieces of work.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
so pretty.
I mean, she's saying to her royal servant. She's saying to her, you pretend to be him. And yeah, it's potentially very sweet, but it's quite difficult to get the sweetness out of it, to find the sweetness in it, because she is so far over the top.
She is a raving narcissist, just like her brother. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, she's practically singing "I Feel Pretty" at the top, isn't she?
She's doing more than that. She's doing more than that. I mean, she's...
Yeah, it's Rasni's mirror. It's exactly what he did earlier is what she's doing now.
And Alvida is basically, what was his name? Radagon. I mean, she's Radagon. She's like, they're like, it's almost an exact reflection of that first scene where the lords were sucking up to him.
I just like the line, Remilia doing her affected wooing of her love, you know, and hereon I would weep is, you know, the onset, you know, I'm not going to do the weeping, I'm just going to say I'd weep here.
I'm saving that for the take.
Yeah. Yes.
But all the time, both brother and sister are constantly saying that they are greater than the gods. Which puts them in severe peril, according to all the mythology I have ever read.
Not even that. She's saying she's going to drag these goddesses from up high if they think they're prettier than her.
But also, like, her only worth is her beauty. Like, she doesn't talk about any other virtue in herself. It's just how gorgeous she is. Not exactly.
Well, that's the patriarchy for you.
True. Could I ask a quick question? That last sentence of Alvida's, what does that mean? I think my penny silver by her leave.
I think I know the sentiment, but you're right. I don't quite know precisely what it's meaning. I mean, it's she says she's the fairest. I think not. Where broad, but precisely, I don't know. Does anyone have any guesses?
Is it what were pennies made of at the time? Were they bronze?
Silver.
Were they were silver? Were they? Pennies?
Well, you could have a silver penny.
But could you have a non-silver penny that he is saying, or she is saying, my penny looks silver compared to her looking beautiful?
That's I was thinking like she's the ordinary penny and I'm silver by comparison to her.
Well,
maybe.
Right.
I felt that what she was saying was, I have two eyes and I can see. I'm saying what I have to say, but nevertheless, my brain is still capable of distinguishing fact from fiction.
Oh, I see. So she holds it. I think my penny silver by my leave. I can still see real things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That comparison between the pennies reminds me of Alvida's character compared with the more beautiful princess. It reminds me of the comparison between the two, because Alvida doesn't exactly agree with everything she says. There's a sense that she's just going along with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Any more before the scene? Because we're only halfway through the scene.
I like Alvida a lot. I don't think she agrees. I think she's just saying she does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we agree on that. Anyone disagree? Anyone think she's being terribly honest? Okay.
The point of that line is to reassure the audience that she's being dishonest.
Yeah, she's closing the curtain and says, I know what's real and what's not. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it is a tricksy one to get that across, but I think with a bit of work in context that works. Okay, second half of the scene. So they've gone behind the curtain, or at least Remilia has. So enter Rasni and Radagon with lords in pomp, bit of peacocking probably, who make a ward about Rasni. With them, the Magi in great pomp.
Magi, for love of Rasni, by your art, by magic, frame an arbour out of hand for fair Remilia to disport her in. Meanwhile, I will bethink me on further pomp.
And exit Rasni, while the Magi with their rods beat the ground, and from under the same rises a brave arbour. This is one for the stage managers, isn't it? Rasni returns in another suit while the trumpets sound.
Blessed be ye, men of art, that grace me thus, and blessed be this day where Hymen hies to join in union pride of heaven and earth.
Lightning and thunder, wherewith Remilia is strucken.
What wondrous threatening noise is this I hear? What flashing lightnings trouble our delights? When I draw near Remilia's royal tent, I waking dream of sorrow and mishap.
Dread not, O king, at ordinary chance. These are but common exaltations, drawn from the earth in substance hot and dry, or moist and thick, or meteors combust, matters and causes incident to time, enkindled in the fiery region first. Tut, be not now a Roman augurer. Approach the tent, look on Remilia.
Thou hast confirmed my doubts, kind Radagon. Now, ope ye folds, where Queen of Favour sits, carrying a net within her curled locks, wherein the graces are entangled oft. Ope like the imperial gates, where Phoebus sits, when as he means to woo his Cilicia. Nocturnal cares, ye blemishers of bliss, cloud not mine eyes, while I behold her face. Remilia, my delight! She answereth not.
He draws the curtains and finds her strucken black with thunder.
How pale! As if bereaved in fatal meads, the balmy breath hath left her bosom quite. My Hesperus, by cloudy death is blent. Villains, away! Fetch syrups of the Ind, fetch balsamo, the kind preserve of life, fetch wine from Greece, fetch oils, fetch herbs, fetch all, to fetch her life, or I will faint and die.
They bring in all these and offer, naught prevails.
Herbs, oils of Ind, alas, there naught prevails. Shut are the day-bright eyes that make me see. Locked are the gems of joy and dens of death. Yet triumph I on fate, and he on her. Malicious mistress of inconstancy, damned be thy name that hast obscured my joy. Kings, viceroys, princes, rear a royal tomb for my Remilia. Bear her from my sight, whilst I in tears weep for Remilia.
They bear Remilia's body out.
What maketh Rasni moody, loss of one? As if no more were left so fair as she? Behold, a dainty minion for the nonce. Fair Alvida, the Paphlagonian queen, woo her, and leave this weeping for the dead.
What? Woo my subject's wife that honoureth me?
Tut! Kings this tum should not know. Is she not fair? Is not her husband hence? Hold, take her at the hands of Radagon, a pretty peat to drive your mourn away.
She smiles on me. I see she is mine own. Wilt thou be Rasni's royal paramour?
She blushing yields consent, make no dispute. The king is sad and must be gladded straight. Let Paphlagonian king go mourn meanwhile.
He thrusts Rasni and Alvida out, and so they all exeunt.
Pride hath his judgment, London look about. 'Tis not enough in show to be devout. A fury now from heaven to lands unknown hath made the prophet speak, not to his own. Fly, wantons, fly this pride and vain attire, the seals to set your tender hearts on fire. Be faithful in the promise you have passed, else God will plague and punish at the last, when lust is hid in shroud of wretched life, when craft doth dwell in bed of married wife. Mark, but the prophet's word that shortly shows, after death expects for many woes.
And yes, so London, look about. Don't try and marry your sister because she'll die. Londoners. I love the whole they offer various herbs, etc. It's sort of like an early modern scene, you know, in A&E when they're standing around with the paddles going clear. Just herbs. These are the strong ones. Everyone stand back. Thunder and lightning, very, very frightening me. I mean, there's so many special effects that you could throw at this scene. For a modern audience, I'm just you know, thinking very much on the staging terms of just going, oh, there's so much that can be done here. But you know, she gets struck by lightning. For her presumption within minutes. I mean, the gods are quick. They really are.
Struck by lightning. She gets struck by thunder.
Yeah, I suspect there's a...
What lightning?
Yeah.
Would you say it's a morality play or a problem play? Because I think it handles both.
Yeah, it is interesting because the question is, you know, what are the morals? You know, it's presenting serious, you know, morals and repercussions of bad behaviour, but there is an element of, I don't see this one being a major issue for most people. I'd love Radagon at the end. He's you know, he needs to cheer the king up. No hanging around Sarah.
Yeah, again, for the second time today, what just happened? What was that at the end with the? It's like, oh, your sister's dead who you were going to marry. Never mind. Look. There's this woman here. She's married to someone else, but that's fine. Look, she doesn't even get a line.
She just you know, smiles and therefore
blushes, and it's like, oh well, that's okay then. She said yes.
And the thing is, how she performs that, because that could be entirely interpreted differently from what she's actually thinking, or she can't. Maybe she doesn't hear what they're saying, and so she's just going very sad. You know, she's doing something totally different.
Yeah, very sad.
I just love it.
Paphlagonia.
One at a time. Sorry, Vic.
I love Radagon coming in when the body's carried out with "What maketh Rasni moody?"
Yeah.
Vexes thee.
Yeah.
But also the fact that he's like, look, other woman, grabs both, chucks them off stage.
Yeah, literally just shoving them off stage. Yeah, Stephen.
Well, it's not about this. It's about silver pennies. So I could say it at the end if you want.
Okay, go for silver pennies.
There's an early modern proverb which says, "Better a silver penny than any brother."
The other thought that occurred to me, Robert, is that in fact, having now, I'd forgotten, I must admit, that Alvida is in fact the wife of Paphlagonia, does change the dynamic of the preceding scene between her and Remilia a bit, that it's not a question of a queen and her lowly servant, it's a queen and a lady of the bedchamber, effectively. You know, of rather higher status than we might have assumed.
Queen and another slightly lesser queen. Yeah.
She says that at the very beginning of the scene. She's going, you may be queens, but you're also serving me.
Yeah. Look, this is the quality of servant I get. Dan.
This is to go back to Elizabeth's point about being like a morality play. Going back to what I was saying about the typography here, because black letter was kind of out of fashion by the mid-late 1590s. This was still being printed in black letter in the 1600s, which was normally reserved for treatises, school texts, and morality plays, the plays of the 1560s and, you know, up to about the 1570s or so, 1580s. So the fact that they preserved that, the typography there, does suggest to me that they did want it to be read in a certain type of way, at least that message come across as being a morality play there.
But I mean, it's interesting. The playwright is possibly having their cake and eating it, in the sense that, you know, we're having a blast with all these these terrible vices on stage, and then every so often someone comes on stage and goes, no. And it's that sort of interesting contradiction. Though, to be fair, someone did something bad, they got punished. We have just seen that. That's maybe more punishments are going to come.
I see the punishment as being for saying that you were better than the gods, because this thunder and lightning, as you say, very, very frightening, but are nevertheless Jove's weapons.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not so sure it's the incest. I mean, obviously that too, but it's also, well, Jove was never very particular, was he?
No.
But I think it's more hubris. It's claiming that she's better than the gods. But I mean, both Alvida and her husband Paphlagonia, what's he called?
Yeah.
Not Paphlagonia. It is Paphlagonia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was in South America. Never mind.
Well, if it's written by Robert Greene, then it could be anywhere.
Okay. Oh, that's Patagonia, isn't it? Yeah, sorry. But they're both having a hell of a journey. Yeah.
And I think coming back to Helen's point there about hubris, Oseas has opened his speech with it. Pride hath his judgment.
Yeah.
Pride and hubris are close synonyms, aren't they? So it is that rather than the forbidden relationship.
Yeah.
Yes, we had explicit mention of pride a few times. We should probably go back and just make sure we note all of Oseas's complaints as to any particular deadly sins that he brings up. Definitely pride's got mentioned a few times.
Yes, lust he gives a go.
Lust, greed, riot. Okay, it's not a... but using the word riot a few times as well. That's quite interesting. Any additional thoughts before we do the final scene of this session? No, we're all just taken aback with the horrors that have been presented to us. Okay, so we're going to go back to our favourite cow owner and victims of a sharp practice, shall we say, as Act 2, Scene 2 is we see enter Alcon and Thrasybulus with their lawyer.
I need not, sir, discourse unto you the duty of lawyers in tendering the right cause of their clients, nor the conscience you are tied unto by higher command. Therefore suffice, the usurer hath done me wrong. I know the case, and, good sir, I have strained myself to give you your fees.
Sir, if I should anywhere neglect so manifest a truth, I were to be accused of open perjury, for the case is evident.
And truly, sir, for my case, if you help me not for my matter, why, sir, I and my wife are quite undone. I want my meas of milk when I go to my work, and my boy his bread, and butter when he goes to school. Master lawyer, pity me, for surely, sir, I was fain to lay my wife's best gown to pawn for your fees. When I looked upon it, sir, and saw how handsomely it was daubed with statute lace, and what a fair Mikado cape it had, and then thought how handsomely it became my wife, truly, sir, my heart is made of butter. It melts at the least persecution. I fell on weeping, but when I thought on the words the usurer gave me, no cow, then, sir, I would have stripped her into her smock, but I would make him deliver my cow ere I had done. Therefore, good master lawyer, stand my friend.
Trust me, father, I will do for thee as much as for myself.
Are you married, sir?
Aye, marry am I, father.
Then goods benison light on you and your good wife, and send her that she be never troubled with my wife's disease.
Why, what's thy wife's disease?
Truly, sir, she hath 2 open faults and 1 privy fault. Sir, the first is she's too eloquent for a poor man, and hath the words of art, for she will call me rascal, rogue, renegade, varlet, vagabond, slave, knave. Why, alas, sir, and these be but holy day terms, but if you heard her working day words, in faith, sir, they be rattlers like thunder, sir. For after the dew follows a storm, for then I am sure to be well buffeted, my face scratched, or my head broken. And therefore, good master lawyer, on my knees I ask it, let me not go home against my wife with this word, no cow. For then she will exercise her 2 faults upon me with all extremity.
Fear not, man. But what is thy wife's privy fault?
Truly, sir, that's a thing of noting. Alas, she indeed, sir, reverence of your mastership, doth use to break wind in her sleep. Oh, sir, here comes the judge, and old Kate of the Usurer.
Okay, we'll just briefly pause here just to luxuriate in the catchphrase that is becoming no cow. Which should get funnier every time. It's like when the lawyer says, "Why? What's thy wife's disease?" And he's just going, "You had to ask." And it's like we know that it's going to be what's the privy thing as she breaks wind in her sleep, and then immediately goes off in the somebody else is coming on. We don't need to expand on that. He just needs to say it. We just need the lawyer's reaction to that. That's some really, really nice things. And any little thoughts about that as a piece of business? It's really nice.
Briefly, the word fart. I was quite shocked. This wasn't in this scene. This was in a prior scene. And it was mentioning the cow, and I was really surprised. I thought it was much more modern words than the late 1500s.
Oh no, we have all sorts of. It's always fun when you get early modern usage of slightly rude words that we use a lot. But yeah, we get that a lot. We get it a lot.
So she doth used to break wind in her sleep.
And when milking cows, but he doesn't mention that.
He's probably lactose intolerant.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
And all the again, a use of lists. We've had a little bit of list comedy in this as well already. So there's a bit more of that. And it's all this stuff about she looked, I was going to pawn the gown, didn't want to, but then I thought of all the consequences. Oh, I just had, and it's a really nicely, much more accessible one than Adam's comedy business. I thought earlier, I found that Adam's stuff quite impenetrable, but this one's very, very easy on the ear.
And it's
Sarah, Sarah, then Helen. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I love that line. And these be but holiday terms.
Yeah.
So like all these insults she hurls at him, and they're just the ones she saves for special occasions.
Yeah. Helen.
I find Alcon's predicament heartbreaking. I really do.
It's making you feel really horrible about laughing about the fart jokes, isn't it? Because it's a genuine horrible thing that's happening to him.
In fairness to my character, he had the money and he refused to hand it over. He's like, I'm so sorry, I don't have it. Then the clock strikes 4 and he goes, actually, here's the money. Well, too late, mate, too late. In defense of the usurer.
Perhaps in the litigation. He can't get out of the litigation. I think there's a comedy there about lawyers and about the law is an ass.
Yeah.
He seems the least helpful place to sort out his problem.
Yeah.
I think Helen's the one who might be able to tell us more on the legal proceedings that are about to come up, I suspect.
They don't look good. They don't look good at all. I mean, one thing that you really... The early modern people were irrepressibly litigious, and it very, very rarely ended well for anybody except the lawyers.
Nothing's changed.
So, yeah, quite.
And on that note, enter the judge. So the scene continues.
Here comes the judge.
Enter the judge, attended, and the usurer.
Sir, here is 40 angels for you, and if at any time you want £100 or 2, 'tis ready at your command, or the feeding of 3 or 4 fat bullocks. Whereas these needy slaves can reward with nothing but a cap and a knee. And therefore, I pray you, sir, favour my case.
Fear not, sir. I'll do what I can for you.
What, master lawyer, what make you here? Mine adversary for these clients?
So it chanceth now, sir.
I know you know the old proverb. He is not wise that is not wise for himself. I would not be disgraced in this action. Therefore, here is 20 angels. Say nothing in the matter, or what you say to no purpose, for the judge is my friend.
Let me alone. I'll fit your purpose.
Come, where are these fellows that are the plaintiffs? What can they say against this honest citizen, our neighbour, a man of good report amongst all men?
Truly, Master Judge, he is a man much spoken of. Marry, every man's cries are against him, and especially we. And therefore, I think we have brought our lawyer to touch him with as much law as will fetch his lands, and my cow with a pestilence.
Sir, I am the other plaintiff, and this is my counsellor. I beseech your honour be favourable to me in equity.
Oh, Signor Mezzaldo, what can you say in this gentleman's behalf?
Faith, sir, is as yet little good. Sir, tell your own case to the judge, for I have so many matters in my head that I have almost forgotten it.
Is the wind in that door? Why then, my lord, thus, I took up of this cursed usurer, for so I may well term him, a commodity of £40, whereof I received £10 in money and £30 in lute strings, whereof I could by great friendship make but £5. For the assurance of this bad commodity, I bound him my land in reconnaissance. I came at my day and tendered him his money, and he would not take it. For the redress of my open wrong, I crave but justice.
What say you to this, sir?
That first he had no lute strings of me, for, look you, sir, I have his own hand to my book for the receipt of £40.
That was, sir, but a device of him to colour the statute.
Well, he hath thine own hand, and we can crave no more in law. But now, sir, he says his money was tendered at the day and hour.
This is manifest contrary, sir, and on that I will depose. For here is the obligation, to be paid between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, and the clock struck 4 before he offered it, and the words be between 3 and 4, therefore to be tendered before 4.
Sir, I was there before 4, and he held me with brabbling till the clock struck, and then, for the breach of a minute, he refused my money, and kept the reconnaissance of my land for so small a trifle. Good Signor Mezzaldo, speak what is law. You have your fee, you have heard what the case is, and therefore do me justice and right. I am a young gentleman, and speak for my patrimony.
Faith, sir, the case is altered. You told it me before in another manner. The law goes quite against you, and therefore you must plead to the judge for favour.
Oh, execrable bribery!
Faith, Sir Judge, I pray you, let me be the gentleman's counsellor, for I can say thus much in his defence, that the usurer's clock is the swiftest clock in all the town. 'Tis like a woman's tongue, it goes ever half an hour before the time. For when we were gone from him, other clocks in the town struck 4.
Hold thy prating, fellow, and you, young gentleman, this is my ward. Look better another time to by the time, both to your bargains and to the payments, for I must give flat sentence against you, that, by default of tendering the money between the hours, you have forfeited your recognizance, and he to have the land.
Oh, unspeakable injustice.
Oh, monstrous, miserable, moth-eaten judge!
Now, you fellow, what have you to say for your matter?
Master lawyer, I laid my wife's gown to pawn for your fees. I pray you to this gear.
Alas, poor man, thy matter is out of my head. Therefore I pray thee tell it yourself.
I hold my cap to a noble that the usurer hath given him some gold, and he, chewing it in his mouth, had got the toothache that he cannot speak.
Well, sirrah, I must be short, and therefore say on.
Oh, master judge, I borrowed of this man 30 shillings, for which I left him in pawn my good cow. The bargain was he should have 18 pence a week, and the cow's milk for usury. Now, sir, as soon as I had gotten the money, I brought it him and broke but a day, and for that he refused his money and keeps my cow, sir.
Why, thou hast given sentence against thyself, for in breaking thy day thou hast lost thy cow.
Master lawyer, now for my 10 shillings.
Faith, poor man, thy case is so bad I shall but speak against thee.
'Twere good, then, I should have my 10 shillings again.
'Tis my fee, fellow, for coming. Wouldst thou have me come for nothing?
Why then, am I like to go home not only with no cow, but no gown? This gear goes hard.
Well, you have heard what favour I can show you. I must do justice. Come, Master Mesaldo, and you, sir, go home with me to dinner.
Why, but Master Judge, no cow, and Master Lawyer, no gown? Then must I clean run out of town.
And exit the judge, lawyer, usurer, and attendants.
I'll cheer you, gentlemen. You cry, no lands too? The judge hath made you a knight for a gentleman, hath dubbed you Sir John Lackland.
Oh, miserable time, wherein gold is above God.
Fear not, man. I have yet a fetch to get thy lands and my cow again. For I have a son in the court that is either a king or a king's fellow, and to him will I go and complain on the judge and the usurer both.
And I will go with thee and entreat him for my case.
How shall I go home to my wife when I shall have nothing to say unto her but no cow? Alas, sir, my wife's faults will fall upon me.
Fear not, let's go. I'll quiet her. Shalt see.
And they exit.
Fly, judges. Fly corruption in your court. The judge of truth hath made your judgment short. Look so to judge that at the latter day ye be not judged with those that wend astray. Who passeth judgment for his private gain, he well may judge, he's adjudged to pay.
And that ends the scene as we approach extra time. Well, yeah, that went well. That went well for the lawyer and the judge. They came out of that really well. There's no justice for the poor. I love the way the lawyer says, "'Tis my fee, fellow, for coming."
Wouldn't want me to come for nothing.
Yeah. You know, it's that's just my hourly rate for writing a letter, mate. That's what that is. So, Helen, I think you were right. They say they're going to try and go to somebody else for help later. Do you think that's going to go well?
Well, what they would do if it was London and when this play was written is that they would go to Star Chamber, because this is the sort of maladministration of justice for which Star Chamber was set up. And the Star Chamber records that I deal with on a daily basis when I can get at the archives is exactly this sort of situation, over and over and over again.
So again, it's very much a you know, the sort of clashing of very specifically quite Londony kind of things or Englandy kind of things in this other context of Nineveh. Yes, beware corruption. I mean, the usurer is spending quite a lot of money on this judge and the lawyer. Obviously, noticeably more for the judge, which seems reasonable. Thoughts about it? Any thoughts about this scene? Otherwise, no cow continues to be the catchphrase that's going to keep on giving, I think.
It's funny how the mood changes, though, when the judge comes in. Because up until that point, even though we are as audience very, conflicted about the fact that it's so funny, but we do have great sympathy for Alcon. I don't know, once the actual complaint starts and the judge is there, it just goes really horrible. It's just a really sad scene, I think, because everything is so stacked against him, against both of them, and I don't know, it's like the humor somehow doesn't sit so well, I feel.
It's interesting, Alcon, at the end, when the judge is exiting, that line, "How cheer you, gentlemen, you cry no lands too." It feels like he's going to the audience going, "Come on, support me, support me." It feels like trying to get the audience to respond and sort of boo the judge as he goes off, which again fits in with a sort of moral didactic sort of quality to this play, is if you're trying to get the audience to start actually responding to the injustices, then that might be part of its structure. How's it being a lawyer, Stephen?
Cool. I wonder about the scene. I mean, it depends how you cast it, doesn't it? If you cast a couple of spare clowns that are hanging around the Queen's men, then it would be a sort of comediary thing, wouldn't it? It would be that the object of mockery would very obviously be the law, and we do have a prophet as well commenting on everything, don't we? So it can be broader, perhaps. And that would be a way to play it. It doesn't have to be it's already an outrageous representation of the law in action, so you might as well gag it.
Yes, there is a question about, as we sort of we're into extra time, so we're now sort of talking about the play overall, this first third of the play. The nature of what this play is doing. It's full of outrageous actions, and we're sort of invited to delight in and denounce them simultaneously, and I find that as a really interesting response. So as we move towards roundup, before we go round the room for final thoughts, any thoughts about the play overall so far? Anything leaping up? Wave at me.
One thought that I've got, Rob, is I'm not quite sure what the A plot, if we describe it that, the one with Nineveh, is actually contributing to the overall direction. The other scenes seem to be much more germane to the issue. I think the Middle Eastern sections are not adding much to it.
Well, they're all in Nineveh, and they're all. In fact, they're going to trip over each other next scene. That's for tomorrow. But you're right. It doesn't feel like the three plot lines that we've had don't feel desperately connecty. They're just examples, aren't they?
But the way they came across to me is that Adam's sequences and also the sequences with the Usurer are London-based.
No. You will find explicitly they are not shortly. Everything's in Nineveh. It is a looking glass for London, but it isn't of London.
That's not come across to me so far from the way it's written.
Yeah, so that's one for costuming and setting, to make sure that the setting is nice and clear. I mean, it's true that everyone is behaving like a Londoner, apart from the royal court, but that's or at least an English person. But that's sort of that doubling thing. Other thoughts about the sense of it, Dan? You're muted at the moment, by the way.
I do actually have to run, but I wanted to just address Stephen's point real fast there. And this is going back to the clown, how many clowns they had employed. I'll send this off to you later on, maybe in the Facebook group. but about the speech prefixes being changed around all in manuscript. In fact, the whole clown thing was now being assigned, at least in our script, and in our script, to first Ruffian. But in fact, that was being addressed as clown, and then Adam was being addressed as Smith. I don't think that's necessarily an error. What I'm actually thinking is Smith, or Adam rather, is that clown, and then another clown is playing that, and perhaps that's the doubling for Alcon there. Just a thought on it. But what I'll do is, yeah, like I said, I'll forward it off to you guys, the manuscript pages or the marked up pages, and then you can judge for yourself what you think of that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. Any final thoughts before you go? No? Okay, we'll go around the room for final thoughts then. Pamela, how have you found the play overall?
I'm enjoying it, but I would agree with what Alan said about it feeling a bit disjointed, and I will be interested to see when the characters kind of start interacting with each other more. Yeah, I'm not 100% buying into it yet. I'm not sure why.
Okay, Sarah, final thoughts?
Well, Greene has a bit of an anarchic quality to him, doesn't he? In the way he just kind of throws all the genres together and chucks stuff in. And this is just kind of, yeah, this is Greene with knobs on, isn't it? I mean, it's I do have the sense that this is a playwright who is, yeah, having his cake and eating it. Like you say, he's putting up all these outrageous actions as like, oh, look, this is what we should not be doing, and be careful, London, you must change your ways. But he's actually really enjoying it. And some of the language, I mean, actually that first speech of Rasni's, I mean, I have quite often have difficulty tripping over my words anyway, but I really had to get my teeth in order for that, because it was very fruity. You know, there were lots of like juicy vowels in there and sharp consonants. It was very kind of sumptuous language, and I just get the impression he's playing a bit of a two-faced game here. He and who's the co-playwright? Lodge?
Thomas Lodge. Though
Lodge.
If we're looking at sort of worked over manuscripts, of course, we always have to take into account that, you know, other hands could be in play, that, you know, these play scripts plays don't get written, they get rewritten. And, you know, if it has a good life, then who knows what the company itself has adjusted as it's gone on. Yeah, it's true. We open with this sort of cracking evil court-based drama, all in verse, and then it sort of we shift to these other plot lines that don't directly connect. I mean, Alan's absolutely right in the sense of that, you know, it's easy to feel that they're not in the same physical location, because they're doing very different things apart from thematically. And it is that sense of, I kind of want to go back to the evilness of the royal court, because I was really enjoying the evilness of the royal court, and I kind of want to see what terrible things are going to happen next, because that's my mild sociopathic nature. So Tamara, any we've enjoyed some of the blood and guts too much in the past. Where do you land?
I don't know yet. It's one of those, because the court feels almost biblical, as in the flood's going to come down any moment now, whereas the judge scenes, or rather the scenes with the usurer and Alcon and Thrasybulus, they seem almost bland in comparison. They seem so almost taken out of reality, rather than this, you know, court that is doing all things that you're kind of not supposed to do. And it's a weird one, that it's I feel like I might be able to see why it's doing that, but it's also a little bit, it feels disjointed. Yeah.
Vic, any final thoughts from you?
Really similar to what everyone said already. It kind of feels like three different stories. And you've got a bit of Scrooge going on, and you've got a bit of kind of like Troy, and it's just all a little odd. I don't really see how they're all going to kind of be plaited together into one nice chunky rope. But I quite like some of the individual characters, and I particularly enjoy the baddies and how quickly they flip. Like Rasni's so in love, and then she's carried out, and he goes, "Oh well, someone else, that'll do." And the lawyer, not the lawyer, sorry, yeah, the lawyer, going, "Oh, I'll stand up for you. This is terrible. The wrongs." And then he goes into court. He's like, "Oh, I don't remember anymore." So I quite enjoy their little individual sort of split personalities. But yeah, I don't quite get the play yet.
Elizabeth, as a first timer to this group, how have you found it, and how have you found the play?
I found the play only enjoyable because I was trying to look for maybe subtext and in subplots, but there isn't subplots. They're all their own individual plots. But I found the play quite weirdly enjoyable, and I think it has to do with how well it's being read. I think it's been read very well. I've enjoyed it a lot. I find it quite funny. I know it's not supposed to be a comedy, but I found it quite humorous.
Excellent. Stephen, final thoughts from you, sir?
No, perhaps I said everything else, I think.
Excellent. So Helen, I think I haven't done Helen.
Well, unlike everybody else, I feel myself totally at home in this play. I mean, I know where I am all the time. It's, I mean, two of the threads are early modern worlds, which I am really familiar with, and the third, more exotic world is completely comprehensible to me in modern parallels. And sure, they're you can't yet see how they're coming together, but I mean, I'm far more in tune with this than I have been with any other Greene.
And Alan, final thoughts from you? I did sort of trample on you earlier, so feel free to get back at me.
Yeah, no, nothing much to add to that. I mean, if you, as you say, these come together later on, fine. As usual, I've not actually read ahead, so each of these speeches I have just read straight cold off the page, which may be why some of the stuff in Adam's first section didn't really land that maybe would if I'd actually read ahead. But the way that we've worked with these so far is to do it cold, and that's what I've held to.
Yes. So next time, I say I wasn't going to say the A plot meets the B plot, but you know, one of the plots meets another one of the plots fairly swiftly. So we'll be rattling on into that next time. And I don't think I have anything more to add. I definitely enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of work to be done playing around with the different threads and tying them together, and thinking about what to do with this as a production is really, really interesting for me. But I haven't come to any definite conclusions yet, so I'm looking forward to finding out what happens next beyond what I'm literally looked at the next page and went, oh, that's interesting. So we're going to go into housekeeping, but otherwise, from all of us, it's goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.